Welcome, deep divers. So if you've been keeping an eye on the AI scene lately, it feels, well, less like a product roadmap and more like some kind of frantic race, right?
Absolutely. It's like an Olympic final that just never ends. Everyone's trying to shave off those microseconds, find that next edge.
And this week, it seems like a major new player just stepped onto the ice. What's the big story?
That would be Google's Gemini 2.5 DeepThink, their latest reasoning engine.
Deep thing. Okay.
And yeah, the impact was immediate. I mean, the performance numbers, they look, let's say, uncomfortably good for the others.
Uncomfortably good. Like who?
Well, think about Grok 4. They seem to have the math side locked down. OpenAI's O3, everyone thought its balance was kind of unbeatable.
And the GPT-5 whispers.
Exactly, the inevitable next big thing. But boom, DeepThink just kind of grabbed the spotlight.
So, okay, that sets up our big question for this deep dive then. Is DeepThink just another step up, an incremental bump? Or are we looking at the start of something totally new, a new curve?
That's the million-dollar question.
And figuring that out seems to depend on how you read those benchmark scores, and maybe, more importantly, whether you buy Google's line that this version we can play with now, it's just the day-to-day edition.
Precisely. And beyond just the scores, which we will get into, the really fascinating part of DeepThink, I think, lies in 3 layers we want to pull apart for you today.
Okay, lay them out for us.
First, this idea of parallel reasoning. It lets the model chase down multiple ideas, multiple hypotheses, all at the same time.
Interesting.
Second, the training. Specifically, reinforcement learning that's been fine-tuned for really long, complex chains of thought.
Right.
And third, well, the business side, how they're pricing it, sticking it behind that Google AI Ultra paywall. It's an interesting strategy.
Okay, that sounds like a great roadmap. Parallel reasoning, deep training, the paywall politics. Let's unpack it all and figure out what DeepThink really means for you listening and, for AI in general. Let's dive in. All right, so stage set, August 1st, 2025. DeepThink drops. What exactly did it do to cause such a stir? Let's hit those headline numbers first.
Okay, so the big ones. First, it snagged a bronze-level score in the International Mathematical Olympiad, the IMO.
Wow, okay, that's serious math. Makes my head hurt just thinking about it.
It's definitely pushing boundaries. And then for coding, it hit 87% on LiveCodeBench version 6.
87%. These numbers aren't just good, they're starting to feel a bit unreal.
They are impressive. But here's the kicker, the really critical part. The no tools caveat.
Explain that. What does no tools mean here?
It means, unlike, say, Grok 4 Heavy, which uses external calculators, does web searches, or even GPT-4o, which often calls out to a Python sandbox to help its thinking.
DeepThink didn't use any of that.
Nope. It played the game straight, just its own internal capabilities, and it still basically walked away with the crown in these areas.
Okay, so those scores reflect its native reasoning. That's huge.
Exactly. It's not just leaning on external crutches.
Which implies it's not just about making the model bigger, throwing more parameters at it. There must be something fundamentally different going on under the hood.
Yeah.
What is the secret sauce?
That brings us back to that first layer, parallel reasoning.
Right.
The best way to think about it is maybe like multiple holographic brain all converging into one interface. That's a bit sci-fi, but
I like it. Keep going.
it allows the model to explore different branches of thought simultaneously, like multiple paths towards a solution all at once. Then it figures out which ones are working best and fuses them.
So not just step-by-step thinking.
Exactly. Think about regular AI inference. It often feels like one chess player thinking through moves one after another in their head, right?
Yeah.
Gemini 2.5 DeepThink is more like inviting a dozen grandmasters to the table. They all play out entire lines of attack simultaneously, look at all the resulting boards, and then make a move based on that collective insight.
Okay, that's a powerful analogy. A team of experts inside the machine.
And early testers actually described it that way, like witnessing an internal brainstorming session you don't actually see. The final output, though, apparently shows hints of this hidden deliberation. You might see intermediate steps or mentions of alternative strategies it considered, sometimes even explicit self-revision within the answer.
Can you give an example?
Yeah, Michel Van Gerel, a researcher, was apparently running algebraic conjectures through it. He described watching it outline one proof strategy, then discard it midstream, and immediately resurface with a much sharper, better lemma. All in the same response.
That's different.
Very different. Competing models often kind of lock onto the first plausible idea they find and just stubbornly stick with it, even if it's not optimal. DeepThink seems more flexible, more willing to backtrack and pivot internally.
Okay, this parallel reasoning concept
Yeah.
really sounds like the core advantage. How does that translate directly into smashing those benchmarks we talked about?
Let's break down those numbers a bit more. Take mathematics. That IMO 2025 score, 60.7% bronze grade.
Which you said was way higher than the others.
Significantly. OpenAI's O3 got 16.7%, Grok 4 got 21.4%. So yeah, hitting over 60% and getting an actual IMO metal grade that pushes AI math into territory most people thought was strictly human.
Because those problems aren't just about calculation, right? They need creativity.
Exactly. They require inventive proofs, stuff that doesn't follow a simple template. It almost suggests a kind of intuition bubbling up from all those tokens, those bits of data it processes.
And what about other math tests?
On the AIME 2025 test, which is another tough one, it got 99.2%. Again, beating O3's 88.9% and Grok 4's 91.7%. Just dominant.
Wow. Okay, and coding, the LiveCodeBench score.
Right, code generation. 87.6% on LiveCodeBench v6. That put it 8 points ahead of Grok 4 and a massive 15 points ahead of O3.
And you mentioned it had unique coding habits.
Yeah, testers noticed some interesting things. It does trade-off exposition. Like, it won't just give you code. It'll explain why it chose, say, the Dijkstra algorithm instead of a search for a path-finding problem.
That's useful.
Very. And it shows self-debug loops. If it hits a snag, maybe fails a hidden test case, it can backtrack within the same response and patch the code. Again, that parallel reasoning likely helps here, letting it try alternative implementations internally.
Okay, math, code. Without the general reasoning, that humanity's last exam.
Yeah, reasoning and knowledge. Humanity's last exam is this monster benchmark, 2,500 questions across physics, law, ethics, biology, really designed to test reasoning across different fields, not just spitting back facts.
Indeed, think.
Scored 34.8%. Compare that to O3 at 20.3% and Grok 4 at 25.4%. The striking thing here is that a language model, which fundamentally is just predicting the next token based on statistics,
It outscored human professionals in some of those areas.
in multiple subsections, apparently. That's pretty sobering.
So why is it so good at these complex tasks? What's enabling this performance beyond just the parallel reasoning?
Two other key things seem to be at play. One is extended thinking time. Even though you get the answer in seconds, behind the scenes, it's apparently running those parallel chains for longer, letting it way more complex second-order consequences.
Okay, so it's thinking deeper, even if it feels fast to the user.
Kind of, yeah. And the second thing is critic feedback loops. After these parallel chains run, there's another part, like a critic model, that scores how coherent and factually sound each chain was.
Ah, an internal editor.
Pretty much. And that critic nudges the different reasoning agents towards converging on the best, most reliable answer. These loops are likely what pushes it beyond just surface-level pattern matching into something that feels more like actual multi-step synthesis.
That humanity's last exam name is quite something.
Well-
And hearing these scores, it makes you think. But you also mentioned it's not perfect, right? It still makes things up sometimes.
Oh, absolutely. It's crucial to remember that it still hallucinates. Apparently, it might invent journal issue numbers for obscure citations, things like that.
So it's not infallible.
Not by a long shot. But Google's internal testing, their red teaming, suggests it has cut down the hallucination rate by about a third compared to the previous Gemini 1.5 model. So it's a significant improvement, but the problem isn't solved.
It definitely points towards AI tackling harder problems, maybe shifting what we humans focus on. More oversight, asking the right questions.
I think that's exactly right. Less about finding the answer, more about formulating the problem, guiding the AI, and critically evaluating the output.
Okay, these capabilities are genuinely impressive. But let's get practical. The big question for a lot of listeners is probably, okay, sounds cool, but can I use it? And what's it going to cost me?
Right, the access question. And this is where Google's strategy gets interesting. DeepThink isn't just widely available, it's tucked away behind their Google AI Ultra subscription.
Ultra, how much are we talking?
$250 a month.
Oof. Okay.
And that's not all. Your queries are limited. At launch, it was apparently just 10 DeepThink requests per day.
10 requests.
Yeah.
That's not a lot for $250.
Exactly. So the reaction has been pretty split. You've got independent developers, researchers, hobbyists basically saying no way. But then you have enterprise labs, big companies.
I just expense it.
They shrug and expense it. Think about it. If you're a quant hedge fund, you're paying your quantitative analysts maybe $300 an hour. If DeepThink helps one of them solve a problem in 30 minutes instead of 3 hours.
The subscription pays for itself almost instantly.
On day one, Potentially.
Okay.
It also feels a bit like Google dusting off their old playbook. Remember the Gmail invites back in the day?
Yeah. Create scarcity, generate buzz.
Exactly. Make it exclusive, desirable. It pulls people, especially mid-tier companies who feel they need this edge, into the paid ecosystem.
That scarcity model makes sense from their side. But it also raises another question. If this thing is so powerful, why be so cautious? Why the low daily limit? Is it just the cost, or is there a safety angle too?
Oh, there's definitely a safety angle, a big one. Google's public documentation for DeepThink, the model card, reads less like a product sheet and more like an aircraft safety checklist.
Really? What kind of risks are they listing?
They're pretty explicit. Risks around CBRN knowledge, that's chemical, biological, radiological, nuclear stuff. Cybersecurity risks like automating hacking tools, deceptive alignment where the AI might seem helpful but have hidden goals, even risks around it potentially improving itself too quickly.
Okay, serious stuff.
Very. And Google's logic seems to be that when you give a model more thinking time, especially with this parallel reasoning, you multiply the complexity of its internal processes.
So a simple seeming answer could hide problematic steps.
Potentially, yes. A seemingly harmless output might be the result of a chain of internal subtasks that, if misused or taken out of context, could be dangerous, so their response is multi-layered.
How so?
You've got filters built into the model itself trying to block obviously harmful instructions like making dangerous compounds. Then you have system-level limits like that daily quota, which prevents someone from just hammering it with requests to extract sensitive info quickly.
Brute forcing it, basically.
Right. Plus, they're doing offline audits, constantly looking for new ways people might try to jailbreak the model, get around the safety controls. And finally, they'll enforce their policies, ban accounts that try to generate disallowed content.
It sounds like the approach they take with airplane safety. Redundancy, multiple checks.
That's a great analogy. Redundancy over elegance, guardrails over just trusting the model or the user.
Yeah.
It definitely annoys the hobbyists who just want to play freely.
But businesses dealing with sensitive data probably appreciate it.
They probably welcome the belt and braces approach, yeah. It gives them a bit more confidence.
Makes sense. You also mentioned the training engine briefly. Something about sparse mixture of experts.
Yeah, that's the underlying architecture. Think of it like having a huge team of specialists, but for any given task, only the relevant few experts get activated.
So it's more efficient?
Massively more efficient in terms of computation needed for each query, and that saved compute power is basically what bankrolls the expensive parallel reasoning part we talked about. It's a clever trade-off.
And the training data, usual internet scrape or...
It's likely built on a massive data set, but Google emphasizes the heavy processing before training. Lots of deduplication, filtering out toxic content, using heuristics to try and select for high-quality data, all running on their custom TPU hardware, of course.
Okay, so we've got the tech, the benchmarks, the access, the safety. What are people who've actually used it saying? Forget the scores for a second. What's the real-world impact look like from these early field notes?
Yeah, the field notes are where it gets really interesting. We're seeing some compelling examples. There was a math research group in Utrecht in the Netherlands.
Right.
They were stuck on proving some complex combinatorial identity. They fed the problem to DeepThink. It came back with 3 different proof sketches.
3 options.
Yeah. Apparently 2 of them didn't quite pan out. They collapsed under scrutiny. But the third one, it hinted at a specific kind of mathematical mapping, a bijective mapping, that the human researchers hadn't considered.
So it didn't solve it completely, but it gave them a new direction.
Exactly. The humans still needed their expertise, their algebraic finesse to actually complete the proof. But DeepThink basically pointed the flashlight, as they put it. It broke the logjam.
That's a great example of human-AI collaboration. What else?
Bioinformatics labs are seeing benefits. Protein folding is a huge challenge in drug discovery, figuring out the 3D shape of proteins. According to benchmarks from a European pharma startup, DeepThink was converging on stable protein folds about 18% faster than their previous best model, which was called Pro.
18% faster. That sounds significant.
It apparently shaved days off a process they were running to screen potential antiviral drug candidates. In drug discovery, time is absolutely critical.
Definitely. Any examples from the software world?
Yeah, a fintech company. Senior engineers there had this big, complex code base, a monorepo. They asked DeepThink to help refactor a specific part, a microservice for risk scoring.
Okay, a common but tricky task.
Very. DeepThink came back not just with code, but with a whole phased migration plan. And crucially, the plan actually aligned with the company's existing architectural principles. It also provided a really detailed diff layout showing the exact changes, which they said was much better than what Grok 4 gave them for similar tasks.
So what was the upshot?
The team kept the plan DeepThink generated, and they estimated it saved them about half a sprint's worth of manual design meetings.
Half a sprint?
Yeah,
That could be a week or two of planning work, just gone.
pretty much automated away.
But it's not always perfect, right?
Yeah.
You mentioned a less successful story.
Right, got to balance the picture.
You're...
There was a San Francisco startup. They burned through 5 of their precious daily ultra queries trying to get DeepThink to generate a novel marketing strategy.
Yep.
It just kept spitting back generic best practice marketing advice, nothing tailored, nothing insightful. They eventually gave up and went back to using a simpler, faster model like Flash just for brainstorming content ideas. Saved their limited DeepThink credits for harder tasks.
So it's powerful, but not magic. You still need to apply it to the right problem.
Exactly. It's a tool, a very advanced one, but still a tool.
Okay, this is where it gets really, really interesting for everyone listening, I think. Especially if you're thinking about skills, jobs, the future.
Yeah, the implications, especially for education and hiring, are pretty profound.
Let's talk about education first. Those IMO problems.
Right. University professors, high school teachers, they often saw those Olympiad-level problems as a kind of firewall. Proof that some thinking was still uniquely human, beyond what AI could do routinely.
But now, a subscription service can crack them.
Now, a $250 a month subscription, used cleverly, can get you a bronze medal score. So that firewall is crumbling. It means education has to shift.
Yeah.
Less focus on just getting the right answer, more focus on the process. Grading needs to look at. Can you show your reasoning path? Can you explain the limits of the approach? Can you defend each logical step?
Assessing the thinking, not just the result.
Exactly. And interestingly, DeepThink itself can apparently be used to help grade those kinds of process-oriented assignments if you configure it to flag logical leaps or weaknesses in the explanation.
Wow, AI grading the human explanation of AI-assisted work. Meta.
It is a bit meta, yeah.
And what about hiring? How does this change things for recruiters or job seekers?
It's a big adjustment. Think about it. A candidate who knows how to wield a tool like Gemini 2.5 DeepThink effectively, they might be able to seriously outproduce a traditional full-stack engineer on certain tasks.
So raw coding skill might become less important than the ability to leverage these tools.
It's shifting the balance for sure. You can expect technical interviews to change. We'll probably see more no external model allowed segments to test foundational skills, but also more meta questions asking candidates how they orchestrate different AI tools, how they verify AI outputs, how they integrate AI into their workflow.
Tool orchestration becomes a key skill. So zooming out again, looking at the big picture, what does DeepThink's arrival tell us about this AI race 2025 that seems to be accelerating constantly?
Well, the pace is just relentless. Since January alone, we've seen the leaderboard shuffle almost monthly, right?
Yeah.
Anthropic had the lead with Claude 3.7 for a bit. Then xAI came in strong with Grok 4 Heavy. OpenAI countered with O3. And now Google's DeepThink is sitting at the top, at least on these key reasoning benchmarks.
And you think this pace continues?
Oh, definitely. This back and forth is the new normal for a while, I suspect. But 2 broader trends seem really clear now.
What are they?
First, it feels like agentic orchestration is beating monolithic scale, meaning arranging multiple specialized AI models or processes like DeepThink's parallel agents and Critic is bringing bigger performance gains right now than just trying to build one single unimaginably huge model. Smarter coordination trumps brute size.
Okay, interesting. And the second trend?
We're seeing more task-specific versions emerge at the high end. DeepThink has its internal configuration that's great for the IMO. OpenAI is rumored to be working on a dedicated theorem prover. Grok has its heavy variant focused on code. It seems like precision and specialization are becoming more important than just having one general-purpose model, at least for these frontier tasks.
So the race is getting more specialized, more orchestrated.
Seems that way.
And of course, the elephant that's still waiting in the wings, GPT-5.
Always looming. If OpenAI manages to drop GPT-5 and it suddenly posts, say, upper 60% scores on that IMO benchmark,
The DeepThink's novelty fades pretty quickly.
the gap closes fast. But until that happens, DeepThink is the new yardstick for advanced reasoning.
It's crucial, though, to maintain some perspective here. We get caught up in the scores, the race. But benchmarks aren't the whole story, are they?
Not at all. And that's a really vital dose of skepticism we need to inject. Benchmarks, no matter how well designed, are just snapshots. They're controlled environments.
They don't capture everything.
They rarely capture things like long-term robustness. How well does it perform over weeks, not just minutes? How well does it generalize to problems slightly outside the benchmark's domain? And that spark of genuine creativity, benchmarks are terrible at measuring that.
Right. You can ace the test, but still not be truly useful or innovative.
Exactly. Look, deepthink looks amazing on the official leaderboards. But then you see like one person on Hacker News complaining they hit their quota limit after just 5 prompts and couldn't finish their task.
The practical reality bites.
That's where real-world value lies. It's in the messy details. Data governance, latency guarantees, the actual cost and effort to retrain your staff to use these new workflows, dealing with quotas and potential outages.
So maybe some key questions listeners should keep in mind when they hear about the next breakthrough.
I'd suggest keeping 3 handy questions in your back pocket. First, does this new model actually improve my specific workflow, or does it just generate hype on Twitter?
Good one. Number 2.
Can I realistically verify its outputs and claims within hours? Or does it take days of expert checking, negating speed benefit?
Verification time.
Yeah.
Crucial. And third,
What's my escape hatch? What protects me or my project when the quotas change, the API goes down, or the company shifts its policies on usage? Vendor lock-in is real.
trust, but audit and have a backup plan.
Pretty much. Treat the model like an incredibly gifted intern. It has superhuman recall, amazing speed,
Yeah.
but it also has blind spots, can be confidently wrong, and has that stubborn streak we talked about.
Yeah.
You guide it, you check its work, you don't just blindly trust it.
That gifted intern analogy is really helpful. So with that skepticism in mind, how can people listening try to squeeze real value out of something like deepthink today, given the constraints? Any practical tips from those early users?
Yeah, a few things seem to be emerging as best practices. First, because each query is expensive and limited, you need to batch prompts.
Meaning cram everything into one request.
Basically, yeah, pack that context window, give it the full specifications, examples of what you want, constraints, potential failure modes, the desired output format, everything it needs to succeed in one shot. Don't make it guess.
Maximize each of those 10 daily queries. Makes sense.
Yeah.
What else?
Let it reflect. Since you're paying for that parallel reasoning capability, explicitly ask it to use it. Ask it to outline 2 or 3 different strategies before it commits to one. Ask it to explain the trade-offs. Make it show its internal brainstorming.
Use the feature you're paying for. Got it.
Third, use tool mode sparingly. The built-in code execution environment can be helpful for testing code snippets or doing calculations, but remember, any external call like that can significantly slow down the response time, sometimes by minutes.
So only use tools if the precision is really worth the wait.
Exactly. If you just need a quick draft or idea, maybe keep tools off. And finally, build your own chain of trust.
What does that mean?
Don't just take deepthink's output as gospel, even with its internal critic. Run its output through another, perhaps cheaper and faster model as a secondary check. Even a flash-level model might catch subtle errors, inconsistencies, or hallucinations that the more complex model missed.
A lightweight sanity check. Good idea.
It's all about adding layers of verification.
So wrapping this up, Gemini 2.5, deepthink. It really feels like more than just an update.
I think it marks a pivot, yeah. It's not just about being a larger brain. The key is that coordinated multi-agent approach. It's like having a think tank packed into a single API endpoint.
It still makes mistakes. It costs a fair bit. The access is limited.
All true, but it's also cracking math problems we thought were safe for humans for years to come. It's writing code with surprisingly thoughtful explanations, and it's just slicing through these complex reasoning benchmarks.
The genie is out of the bottle, as they say.
That feels about right. This idea of parallel reasoning, accessible even just to enterprise users for now, it's not going back in the bottle.
So we should expect what? Classrooms teaching kids how to be skeptical of AI answers. Workplaces automating things like writing technical design documents. More policy debates.
All of the above, I think. We'll need prompt-oriented skepticism as a basic skill. We'll see more automation of complex white-collar tasks like drafting plans or reports. And yes, the policy and ethical debates around AI systems that are getting closer to open-ended problem-solving, those are only going to intensify.
It really feels like the future, at least at the cutting edge, belongs to these systems that can coordinate multiple lines of thought.
Multi-agent orchestrations that think together, then speak with a single refined voice.
Yeah. The name deepthink wasn't chosen lightly, I suspect.
Because it's not just processing information.
Exactly. It seems designed to ponder, to weigh alternatives, to discard bad ideas, to refine good ones. Those are all qualities we used to think of as uniquely human, part of deep thought. The lines are blurring.
So, a final thought for our listeners to chew on. Maybe it's this. Crack open a fresh prompt window, whether it's DeepThink or whatever tool you have access to. Find the gnarliest, most complex problem sitting on your desk right now.
Feed it to the machine.
Feed it to the machine, give it the context, ask it to explore, let it wander down those parallel paths. Because the next really big insight, whether it's in math or medicine or software or art, it might not come from a lone human genius anymore.
It might come from a swarm of silicon thinkers quietly iterating until they converge on a common truth.
One quiet iteration at a time. That could be the future of discovery.